Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Real Talk Live with Annette D Love. Listen, once again, I'm so glad to be in your presence. And I just want to talk story today. We're not going to talk about any specific issues going on in the world. We're not going to talk about what you're doing in your life. We're just going to talk story. I am going to tell you some stories, some things that happened to me in my past. And I hope it just takes your mind away from all the troubles that you have going on right now. Just take some time to worry about somebody else's problem, and that's somebody else being me. Okay, so we're gonna get right to it. I want to first tell you about my sister. She was talking to me about this time she was in, where was she stationed? She was stationed in Florida. I guess it was at in Jacksonville. And so what she did was she picked up this guy that she thought was in the military. So kind of find out the man was not in the military. The man was actually a homeless man. She picked him up, she took him on the base, okay? And it wasn't until she got on the base that she realized that he was not in the military, and she realized that she had made a mistake. The man was smelling and everything. She was like, she could tell something wasn't right because the way he was smelling and all that, right? So she said she took the man to the PX and dropped him off because it was too late. She couldn't take him back out. She had already brought him on the base. So when I was talking to her, I was telling her that something like that had happened to me. So one day I was riding, I was stationed at Fort Lee, okay? Fort Lee and Petersburg, okay? And so my commander's wife was like a heavy-set, dark-skinned lady, and they was in an interracial relationship, okay? So I thought I had the right woman. So I was leaving the PX, or the commissary area, and I saw her just walking. So I said, okay, let me see if she need a ride because I got time. So I asked her, did she need a ride to wherever she was going? And I knew that they didn't live far from the post. So I was like, it wouldn't take me that long to take her home. Why she would need a ride home, I don't know. So I got her, in the car and stuff like that. And the lady just started talking. And she was blabbering. I mean, she was just talking about all kinds of stuff. Then she started telling me about her ex-boyfriend and how he hurt her and how she just cried for days. It was at that moment that I realized this was not my commander's wife. Okay? And that is why she needed a ride and accepted a ride. The lady didn't know me, and I definitely realized that I didn't know her. And not only did she not go to the up not far from the post, I took her straight to the deep, deep, deep hood of Petersburg. I mean, oh my goodness! And listen, don't feel no kind of way about me or any kind of way about me. I did not know that we was going to the hood, and I was not used to the hood. Now, even though I hung out in the hood in my hometown, I didn't know anything about the hood in Petersburg. And this lady took me to the hood, and I mean, you could tell it was dirty. It just wasn't where I supposed to have been. So I'm telling the lady, so she, we dressed her driving. I'm like, good gracious, how she even get out here? And so we just riding and riding. And so she was like, well, what you think? What about you? What you think I should do, huh? She was asking for my advice and stuff. I said, well, I've been hurt too. You know what I'm saying? I was just saying anything so she won't hurt me in my I say, yeah, girl, I've been through it. I'm telling you, these men, they can do some things, they can do some dance. We allow them to do so much to us, but we got to be more careful, right? I said, I'm just talking, making up stuff all the way to her house. I'm like, what way did I turn? What way did I turn? So she said, well, look, girl, we got to keep in touch. We got to keep in touch because we done been through some stuff alike, and, we can help each other. We can help each other. I was like, we sure can. We gonna keep in touch. Give me your phone number. I said, give me your phone number. God forgive me for the lie. I said, yes, honey, I'm gonna call you. You gonna call me? I am gonna call you. You got you a soldier friend now. Don't you even worry about it, because we gonna get through this together. We're not gonna let them men just be hurting us. Y'all. Baby. When I got away from that, I got far away from there, because it wasn't the fact that I was in the hood. Because come on, I'm used to the hood. It was the fact that this lady mentally was not stable, right? And I'm like, anything could happen. And that is why we have to be very careful who we pick up, who we put in our vehicle. You have to make sure that the person that you are conversating with, traveling with, is the person that you know. Because that lady could have hurt me. She was sitting in the back of my car. Okay? So she could have done anything to me. By the grace, baby, by the grace, I was protected. And so I just want y'all to know that I did some stupid stuff. So when I say, I should have been dead, or I should have been this and that, believe me, it's not me just saying it because that's what people say to try to get a point across. I say it because I have done some ignorant stuff in my lifetime. And I had never shared that with anybody but my sister. But my sister was like, you need to do a story time on that. And so my question to y'all is, what have you done that didn't make any sense? That's how I'm going to put it. What have you done that didn't make any sense? Because that made no sense to me. I should have known that this man's wife was not stranded. I mean, he was an officer. I should have known that if she needed a ride, she could have called her husband. But I'm trying to be the good Samaritan, and I'm going to give her a ride in my car, and it comes out to be a lady that wasn't stable, okay? And was I in fear for my life? I was, because I didn't know where that lady's head was, and then she started talking about how men had hurt her and stuff like that, and then she took me out to the hood to drop her off. I couldn't tell her to get out my car. I took the lady from where she was. She probably could have got a cab, or a cab, y'all. That's the old Uber. So she probably could have got a cab or caught the bus. But no, I grabs her up and put her in my car and tell her I'll take her home. And so I had to follow through with it, because I'm always a woman of my word. But baby, except for the fact that we were going to stay friends and keep in touch, because I had to get away from that. I was like, I know when something ain't right now. My mama didn't raise no crazy, no fool. Let me just put it right there, okay? She didn't raise no fool. I know when something is not right and it's not for my best interest, or in my best interest, to be around that. So that was one of my story times I wanted to tell y'all. The second story time that I wanted to share with y'all is, okay, I ain't always been saved. Y'all know I ain't always been saved, so don't judge me, okay? So one time I used to date this guy. I mean, he was so handsome, very, very, very handsome guy. I used to date him. But he was a womanizer, and I never could commit. Let me just say that. I was a woman that did not commit very well, okay? And so once we would be on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again. That's just how it was, because I wasn't committing to anybody, okay? I don't, had issues. And so he, one time we were off, and I happened to have met one of his co-workers. Now listen to me. I didn't go into it with knowing that that was his co-worker. I met his co-worker, and his co-worker knew who I was, okay? But I didn't know that he worked in the same office. Now, let me tell you a bit about this co-worker. The co-worker was so very much handsome. I mean, he was handsome, or more handsome than my ex. And I mean, he was tall. I mean, just like I liked him. Okay, just like I like him. So, okay, I like the co-worker. I said, I'm gonna talk to the co-worker, blah, blah, blah. Me and old boy had broke up. Like I said, we was always on again, off again, on again, off again. And so I'm dating the co-workers now. I'm dating them. So what happened was I get the phone number to call him at his office. And I realized that the phone number that I'm calling is the same phone number that I would call for the other guy, right? And so I asked him, I said, hey, do you know such and such? And he was like, yeah, we work together. And I'm like, do you know who I am? He was like, yeah, I know who you are. I was like, so you don't have a problem with the fact that me and him used to date? Matter of fact, that we have dated, on and off. And he was like, nope, couldn't wait till y'all broke up. And I'm like, what? So, oh my goodness. So at that point in time, I was like, hey, I ain't a committing type anyway, so I'm going to go ahead on and see how this work out, right? So look, I called him. I had to have a code name because I couldn't let old boy in my business all the way. Now, I didn't disguise my voice. I never disguised my voice, but I did have a different name. So when I called there, and he heard my voice the first time. When a boy heard my voice the first time, okay? And that back then, where they were, they didn't have the caller IDs, okay? So he couldn't see my phone number. So I called, and I would ask for my guy, and he would like, my ex would be like, well, who is this? I said, this is Sandra, right? And like I said, I didn't disguise my voice, but he was like, this is who? I said, Sandra. And he like, oh, okay, Sandra. So he would give the phone to the guy. He gave the phone to the guy. So I said, hey, what is he doing? Now, so the whole time, this became a joke. Whenever I would call him in the office, it became a joke. I was like, what is he doing? He said, he's sitting over here staring at me. I was like, for real? He said, yep. He's sitting over here confused. I said, because he knows my voice, right? He said, that must be it. He said, you didn't disguise your voice? I said, no, I just told him I'm Sandra. So I would call every day. And if he was in that office, he made sure he answered that phone. And he said, when he asked me who it is, I said, it's Sandra. He said, are you sure that this is Sandra and this is not Arnett? I was like, who is Arnett? And I'm telling y'all, it was crazy because I would not disguise my voice. So I'm talking, y'all know I have a very distinctive voice like my mother. And so I would disguise it. I'd be like, this is Sandra. Who is Arnett? Who is Arnett? He would like, okay. And so he'll call over and say Sandra on the phone. And so when he got tired of the games, he asked the guy, he said, do you know Arnett? Do you know the girl I used to date? And he was like, yeah. He's like, well, Sandra sounded a lot like her. He was like, what? They don't look alike. I mean, oh my goodness, we had him going so badly till when he even came and asked me, he was like, are you dating such and such? I'm like, who? I mean, I play so stupid. He said, are you dating such and such? I said, no, I'm not dating anybody. Why you ask me that? He said, because somebody keep calling that sound just like you, talking about her name Sandra. I said, well, it ain't me. My name is not Sandra. I'm Arnett. And he was like, y'all playing. I mean, he was so heated because I don't understand. We were not together, okay? We had a jacked up relationship, it really wasn't toxic. It was just like when we got tired, we took a break, but we were not together. And so this is the thing. It got around Christmas time, right? Now, I'm gonna tell y'all I was terrible. If y'all ain't got my book, you better get it. It's called But You're a Minister, and it's on Amazon for I think it's $15 for the book, and you can get Kindle and all that stuff. You better get the book. So anyway, so it was around Christmas time. Okay? So I had to figure out what I was gonna do for Christmas, okay? Because oh boy, won't talking about buying me all these Christmas gifts. The Christmas gifts, and I like gifts, you know what I'm saying? And he wasn't talking my talk, you know what I'm saying? And any woman worth her weight in salt know what I'm talking about. You got to talk my talk. You got to know what I like, my love language, okay? Now, this is me. This is before I got saved, y'all out there. Don't hold it against me. So you got to know my love language, okay? And he was not talking my love language, so I couldn't understand. He might as well have been speaking Espanol because I could not understand what he was saying. It's Christmas time. Where is my love language? You know what I'm saying? So, needless to say, that died out really quickly. He didn't even know it was dying out because my ex was talking my love language because he knew me so well. He knew that I love gifts. He knew that I love to shop. He knew me because we dated for a long time. Like I said, it was on and off. And he knew Christmas time that I would come home. He knew Christmas time. He knew Christmas time I was coming home. Now, he didn't really know for sure that I was dating old boy, but if he thought I was dating old boy, he knew how to get me away from that thing right now because old boy was not talking my love language, okay? And so my ex, right? He just started calling, Merry Christmas, blah, blah, blah. What you doing? I got your gifts. Gifts with an S plural. I'm like, really? You got my gifts? And so, listen, I was young. I was young. And I liked what I liked, okay? Don't judge me, y'all. Don't judge me. And so, needless to say, that's who spent Christmas with me, and my mother, my sister, and my baby, and that's where I got my gifts from, and that's where I was back where I was supposed to be. You know, we was back on. We was back on. So now, look, hold on. So we back on now, and so all the phone calls from Sandra had ceased, right? Which means he was still adding and calculating. And he was like, now, let me hear you say Sandra. And I was like, Sandra? He said, you sure you want the one calling my office? I was like, no, I didn't call your office. He said, because, and then this the new year. He said, because, you know, the whole time last year, before me and you got back together, Sandra was calling the office. And when we got back together during Christmas time and whatnot, Sandra stopped calling. You sure you're not Sandra? I'm like, I'm not Sandra. But see, I know that he knows that he knows that I was Sandra. I know he knows. And let me tell you about old boy. Oh, the other one. There was no goodbyes. There was no, this didn't work for me. That was cut completely off, and he just found out me and Obo was back together. That's how treacherous I was. That's how I did what I did, because I'm like, if you're not speaking the right language to me, I don't have nothing for you. If you're not understanding what I need, if you're not catering to what I need, my needs, you know, I don't have nothing for you. I'm not going to just cater to you. You have to share the responsibility. Reciprocity is a must for me. So I'm not going to be miserable and you're going to be the only one happy in a relationship. The type of living arrangement that I had a brand new home that I had built out in some woods. And so in order for you to get to my house, you had to be specifically told how to get to my house, which means we're secluded. You have privacy. You have serenity at my house. You know what I'm saying? Everything clean, nothing out of place. Yeah, it was like a static display. It was ridiculous. And but that's what you got. You had nice soft music you call like elevator music. You know what I'm saying? My house was so comforting. Everything was lovely. And you're not just gonna be around my house just taking up my air and my space and contributing nothing and doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna give you a whole bunch of time to waste my time. And that's just how I was. I was 20. I had my house built when I was 22. I think I was 22 when I had my first house built from the ground up. Me and my baby used to go back and forth watching them build our house. And I was not going to let anybody take advantage of me. And so, I went back to what I knew, and what I knew me. And so that's how that was. Now, so like I said, don't be judging me. I'm trying to give y'all a little story talk. And I hope in between this you learn some lessons, okay? And you don't have to, it's not all about money. I said my love language. Your love language might be touching. Your love language might be talking. My love language was gifts. I like gifts. And if I keep telling you I like gifts and you keep ignoring me and you don't understand what I'm saying, okay, bye. Okay, because I'm not going to not like gifts because you don't feel like you should buy me gifts. I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. I want what I want. I like what I like. I reciprocate. I would buy gifts. I take out. I do dates and stuff like that. I pay for dates. I ain't no wrong with me paying for a date. I don't have no problem with it. Some women might have a problem with paying for a date, but I don't. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is when you require me to pay for a date. If you know what I mean. When you start acting like I owe you a date. Okay, will you be like, oh, I done paid this, I done did this, and I did all of this for you, and it's time for you to do this. No, when you start doing that to me, that's when we have a problem, because I don't owe you anything. If you dating me, if you ask me out on a date, I expect you to pay for it. When I ask you out on a date, I expect the payment to come from me. Most of the time, back in my day when I was young, in my 20s, even if I was started to pay for a date, the man did not allow me to pay for a date. That's what I'm used to. That's what men used to do back in the day. They didn't allow the woman to pay for a date. It was just the fact that she offered to pay for a date. Don't get me wrong. I had the money. If he wanted me to pay for it, I would. But it was the fact that she offered to pay for a date, to take him out, to make sure that he had a nice time. Men back then, during my time, and I was in this, let's say this was like the 90s, they didn't feel comfortable. A lot of them didn't feel comfortable allowing women to pay for anything. Not much anyways, maybe a bag of chips or something like that, but a lot of them didn't feel comfortable. So I really didn't have to pay for a date, but I did offer to pay for a date. But if I'm telling you what I like and you're ignoring me, acting like it's not, as if it's uncommon, then that's when we're going to be unbenefited. And really, that's what happened. And that's how I ended back with my ex. Okay. So let me tell y'all another story. Because we talking story now. Okay. When I was a little girl, my mother, we lived out Academy Park. Y'all know what Academy Park is. KP, what did they call it? It was Academy Park. It was KP. It was something else. They changed the name and stuff. But what originally, before we moved out there, it was the area where the sailors would come into town, and the citizens would take them in and take care of them while they're on land before they have to go back out, before they ship back out. So it was one of those homes type environments, neighborhoods that took care of the military. Okay, the families would take care of the military, and so when they got out of that, and they opened it up to different people, because at one time there were no African Americans in there or anybody else. It was just all Caucasians living there about when they was doing that, taking care of the soldiers. So we was in there, we got in there in the 70s. My grandmother got in there first, and she used to work at the rental office. When we got back from California, my mother ended up not buying, but renting a house beside one of the older neighbors that knew about taking care of the military, which he was so good to us. I mean, he was Indian. He was Native American, excuse me. He was Native American. My mother was half Native American, and they had a lot of stuff they used to talk about all the time. My mom, he was married. His grown daughter lived with him, and his granddaughter lived with him. And he and my mother formed a relationship, a bond that, whatever she needed, they could talk. And nobody really, well, his wife didn't really like us because we were African American. His wife didn't, but she tried to hide it. Well, she just stayed away from us and stuff like that. But we knew it because of some of the things that my friend, which was his granddaughter, used to come and tell me that she would say. So, we tried to stay out of her way because that's how she felt. But nevertheless, her grandfather, Mr. Ned, loved my mom. I mean, to the point where he would protect us. Like, I remember it was this man who kept coming by and kept bothering my mother. Oh, Mr. Ned got rid of him. I mean, good fashion. Let him know what he would do if he caught him back over there. And while he was letting him know he had his little friend with him, Mr. Ned did not play when it came to my mama and her kids. So one day, I just want to tell you what we were during that time. Because, see, we weren't there when they were calling it KP. We was out there for the original Academy Park. This was in the early 70s, okay? And so my mother was always overprotective of us. She was scared of anything was going to hurt us. Anything, I'm talking about animals, insects, anything. I was allergic to insect bites. So my legs, if I got bit by a mosquito, my legs would react to the insect bites, okay? And I was a little girl with the little spots all over her legs because I was allergic to insect bites. So my mom, we had a shed in the backyard. In that shed, up in the corner, was a beehive, okay? And I know it was a bumblebee. I'm going to tell you why. It was a beehive, a bumblebee hive. And every day, every morning, Mama would get up and boil some water. Hot water, because we didn't have microwaves back then. We didn't have them. So we had the gas stove. So she would turn that gas stove on, boil some hot water, and she would throw it on the beehive every single day. Okay, and I kept saying, Mama, them bees gonna get you. Those bees gonna get you. We were little kids. She had 3 little kids. And so every day she did this. One day, all 3 of us was sitting at the kitchen table. It was time for breakfast. Mommy gonna get them bees out the way before we had breakfast. And we were actually eating. I think we were eating cereal at the time. And that's rare because I really didn't eat cereal. But we were eating cereal at the time. Mama took that hot water. And before she could throw the hot water, when that screen door opened up, Jesus, those bees flew into our house in a straight line like an army. I lie to you not. Bees are extremely smart. They was like an army flying. I mean, they was ready. I don't know who was in front. But they flew all through the house. I mean, past me, my sister, my brother, flew through the kitchen, through the living room, through the hallway, straight to the bathroom. Mama was running. Woo! I mean, she had took off, baby. She was booking, because my mama was a track star in Norcom, IC Norcom at that. So she was booking. Well, I won't say track star. She ran for a little while. But she was booking, okay? But my mom didn't run. And so she got to the shower, and we had just had our shower, hooked up and stuff like that. So she jumped in the shower, and she started just, washing those bees off of her, because they was tagging her, and she was screaming and stuff. And then check this out. I went to check on my mom in the bathroom, right? And them bees was just getting her everywhere they could, and they was falling off from the water and whatnot. And she, like I said, she was screaming, okay? And when they got finished, y'all, I stood in that hallway, watched my mom wash those bees off of her, and they was falling into the tub. When those bees got finished, it was so many dead bees in the tub. And then the ones who were alive, y'all know what they did? Flew back down that hallway, back into the living room, and out the back door. Out the back door. They did not touch me. They did not touch my sister. They did not touch my brother. But baby, when I tell you, they told my mama up. They put on a show for us. They taught us a lesson. They let us know, don't you ever put no hot water on that beehive again, or this is what's going to happen to you. I do not play with bees. I do not play with wasps. Remember, y'all, a couple months ago, I got stung by the bee for the first time. I couldn't believe it. My heart was so broken that that bee stung me, because I had an understanding that I don't play with bees. Those bees told my mama up, right? Mama had to go to the hospital because she was so swollen from the bee stings. But you know what the doctor told my mom? They didn't want to kill you. They just wanted to teach you a lesson. Because had they wanted to kill you, they would have went down your throat. Now, listen to me. Y'all can take this for a joke if you want to. Do not play with those bees. They are very, very intelligent. And I'm telling you what I know. And my mom will back this story up. Those bees plotted against my mother because she had been burning them up every morning. I don't know if she had killed the queen bee or what, but every morning they plotted. She was getting them, and they plotted against her. They came in our house, and they didn't mess with me or my siblings. They came in our house, and they chased my mom, and they got her in that bathroom, in that shower. And I stood there and watched my mom scream and flake off those bees. And I stood there, and not one bee touched me. Not one bee. They was only after her. So I just want y'all to know to be very careful with bees. They're going to get you. They're going to get you. They're not going to forget who you are when you're out there messing with them. So leave them alone. I don't know how I got stung that day because I wasn't messing with the bee. Maybe he thought that, all this was some flowers or something. I don't know. We trying to pollinate my arm. But they're very, very intentional. So just want you to know that they're not to be played with, okay? Now, I'm going to tell y'all one more story. One more story, then I'm gone because I'm kind of sleepy. Okay, I used to date this professional football player. Well, let me put it this way. He was a former professional football player. He used to play for the New England Patriots, okay? And so I dated him for almost, I want to say about maybe 2 years. Now, that's the longest I had ever dated anybody because I was one that could not commit. And I'm telling you, it was so difficult for me to get out of that relationship because I tried several times and he would not go anywhere. And I tried to listen. I even when I just got so frustrated, was like, I am done with this. I was like, let me help you find my replacement. That's how bad I wanted out of that relationship because I wanted to help him find a girlfriend so that he would leave me alone. That's just me. I'm saying, so listen, he was so aggressive. Now okay, let me get your heads right. Okay. When I say aggressive, I'm really not talking about with me, but he was aggressive with anybody who thought they might want to talk to me or who he thought might want to talk to me. So let me tell you the first story. In the beginning, one day, because like I told y'all, I didn't commit to anybody. And so I was on the telephone. If y'all remember them old phones, the old damn phones, the new ones, when you hung up the phone, you could actually hear the conversation that the person was talking to. So if you clicked over, you could kind of hear if they was talking to a woman or a man. So you youngsters won't probably know about that, but the old heads know that the phones weren't perfected. And so when you clicked over, if you started talking, you could hear who they were talking to. So I was on my phone, and I clicked over after he got off the phone, and he heard the guy on the phone, right? Now, he had a key to my house only because I let him hold my key the day before. I wasn't even thinking about that he still had the key, okay? But that's how guys do. Y'all be careful. Women do it too. If you don't get your key right back, you mess around, they be done made a copy, or they won't say anything and they still keeping your key. So he had my key. Why he didn't get my key back, I don't know. But anyway, this was the beginning of our relationship, maybe about 3 months in, okay? And so don't think bad of me. I was like I was. That's just who I was saved, okay? And so I talked to the guy, and he heard the guy on the phone. This brother, I know he was probably 300 some pounds. He was probably about 6'5". He was I'm telling you, he used to play football for the New England Patriots. He came through my front door, up my stairs. I didn't hear nothing. Nothing. I mean, he was so light on his feet, and he was in my room. I heard it when the last step creep, I was like, I gotta call you back. Listen, he was in the room by then, and before I knew it, he pushed me in my chest. Now I'm laying on the bed because I'm on, you know how we do, we on the phone. I'm laying on the bed, and he just kind of like pushed me in my chest like he was giving me CPR, right? And normally I kept my Glock behind me in a little cubby box of my bed. But the night before, I said I need to move my Glock before my son startled me, and I reached back and get it, and I heard him. So I took the Glock and put it in another part of my furniture, okay? He didn't know I had moved the Glock. So what happened is, when he pressed me in the chest, I reached back to get the Glock, and I pulled nothing up because I had to get up out the bed to get the Glock. When he realized, when I pulled my hand back, there was nothing in my hand, he ran down the stairs, out the door. I had to get the Glock, okay? And baby, let me tell you something. One always stayed in the chamber. Always. So I ran down the stairs to get him, because I'm like, he done hit me in my chest. And like I told you, he was 300 some pounds, 6'5". I ran down there to get him, y'all. I sure did. When I got to the door, y'all, this how fast he was. He was gone. I mean, car gone. I looked around the corner, car gone, nowhere to be found, right? So what happened was, okay, at that time, I'm startled because don't nobody hit me. Said, oh, I put their hands on me. The only person that ever choked me, that was a done deal, okay? Because I don't do domestic violence. I don't get beat. You know what I'm saying? I don't get beat on. And so nobody hits me. So I was just disturbed. Called my cousin. I packed up a bag. Me and my baby, we going away now. Because we don't do domestic violence. So I packed my bag up. And listen, at that moment, I didn't want to deal with nobody. The guy that I was talking to, the other guy that I was talking to, he tried to call me and tried to get me to come, see him and stuff. I was so distraught. I had ended that right there. It was over. All that was over because I'm like, he done hit me. I'm in hiding now. I'm in hiding. Basically because my cousin was afraid that if he came back, I was going to do something crazy. So now I had to be watched. basically. Now, because all this happened in Savannah, and we were all working for the sheriff department. So I had to be watched to make sure I ain't do nothing stupid. So my cousin had me pack up my stuff, and we went to her house for a few days, okay? And so then, you know, he calling and stuff and calling my cousin and all that stuff like that. And my cousin's like, look, you need to talk to him. You need to talk to him. I was like, I don't want to talk to him. I'm like, you see how big he is, and he'll put his hands on me. I was little, y'all. I wasn't this, and regardless, he shouldn't have touched me, but I was smaller than this. I wasn't this size, okay? I was very small. And so I was like, you know, I don't want to talk to him. And she was like, look, just explain to him, you know, what you need to explain to him. Listen, hear him out, hear him out, hear him out. So this might have been like 3-4 days that I've been in her house. She probably was sick of me. And so I went home and I let him come over, but I didn't let him come in my house, okay? And I had my Glock in the holster, baby. And so he was he was outside my house in the front of his car, leaning on the hood, boo-hoo crying. Boo-hoo crying. Now listen to me. I'm from Virginia. I ain't ever seen nothing like that in my life. I've been in the military 9 years. I had never seen nothing like that in my life. Bruh is crying. Big old dude, 300-something pounds, 6'5", crying like a baby. And I'm laughing because to me, I couldn't believe it, right? And then he got offended because I'm crying. He's like, I'm trying to tell you, and I'm trying to apologize, and you think it's funny. I was like, I'm sorry. I just ain't never seen nothing like this in my life. I never seen a man cry like this. I mean, tear, yeah, maybe, but to boo-hoo cry like this, right? And so I told him, I said, listen, I have to really think about this because you can't put your hands on me. I said, you cannot put your hands on me no matter what I do. If I do something that you don't like, you got a choice. You can stay or you can leave, but you cannot beat me. You know what I'm saying? That's because I couldn't do nothing with him for real. Nothing. And so he, after a while, I talked to my cousin because she was my older cousin. I told her, she was like, look, just if he touch you again, that's it. But after that, he never touched me. And so, ladies, I ain't telling you to do it because it might not work for you, but it worked for me because he knew what that was going to do. He also wasn't allowed to talk nasty to me. He wasn't allowed to cuss me out. He wasn't allowed to call me out of my name. He wasn't allowed to do that. You had to respect me just like I'm going to respect you. I'm telling you, he couldn't call me out of my name. I didn't go for that because he tried it one day. And, baby, I hit the roof, honey. I was like, you don't talk to me like that. And we was actually having people to come over. We having a cookout. And we were having people to come over and stuff like that. And he had called right before they got ready to come. He called me a name, And, baby, I went off. And he knew that doggone cookout party was about to be ruined. It was about to be ruined. When I tell you he was apologizing and promising me stuff and stuff like that so that I'd get some act right because I was about to ruin the party. You have to show people how to treat you, and you don't settle for less. And I wasn't going to settle for less. So that's what I'm saying. When he was aggressive, he knew not to be aggressive with me after that. But I went to the police academy. He's all at the police academy because there's, a bunch of dudes in the police academy and stuff like that. So he worried enough about that. He all at the police academy, y'all. Wanting to take me to lunch. I'm like, no, I'm going to lunch with my classmates. I'll see you when I get up. I mean, he was so smothering. You know what I'm saying? And it was just, like I told you, at the one point, I was like, let me help you find you somebody. Because I was tired at that point. I was just exhausted with him, okay? And what ended up happening, and we'll get to close it, one of my old friends had contacted me, somebody I used to see when I was in the military. And so we was talking back and forth on the phone, just talking back and forth on the phone. He got a hold of my telephone, and he called the guy back. Now, this guy was in Texas. He called the guy. He brought me my phone because my phone was downstairs charging. He brought me my phone and said, somebody want to talk to you, and threw the phone at me. And the guy, oh my goodness, he was on the phone and he was like, okay, Maxwell, when you and that fool get everything together, you call me back, okay? Tell him don't call my phone no more. He was saying a lot more words, but he was like, tell him don't call my phone no more. And I'm like, how and why would you call this man, right? I couldn't take it no more, y'all. I had to get out of that. It was toxic because I felt so smothered. I had no freedom. He was just all over me. You know what I'm saying? Trying to block me in. You know, and I can't be blocked in like that. I still have to have a sense of freedom. Now, I was wrong for talking to the other men, but I'm telling you, by that time, I was just tired. I was tired of him. Very aggressive. So listen, just because somebody tell you they used to do this and they play a professional football and they this and that, don't be, listen, don't get trapped in that foolishness. I'm telling you, if they are aggressive like that, if they, won't let you get away and everything you do, they have to be questioning you stuff. Listen, that's a prison and I won't have it. I was too wild for it. So I hope your lesson that you learned from me today is choose your mates wisely. Don't let them abuse you. Don't settle. When it's time to go, get gone. I dealt with that mess. And don't get me wrong, we had some good times. Very good times. But I mean, on and off, that stuff was, it became embarrassing. And even when I would say we're done and we'd be at work, and, I was a cutie pie. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all know I'm cute now. So the guys at work, I worked in a jail, a sheriff department. And sometimes I work outside the jail, but still, the guys would like me. And so they try to talk to me. And I'd be like, we're done. And he'd be like, no, we're not. We're still together. We're still together. And it was terrible, y'all. It was horrible. I felt trapped. Okay? So please, if you ever start feeling trapped in your relationship, make sure you get out of that. Make sure you find something else to do. Okay? Remember, God loves you. I love you. Make sure you love yourself. Then you can go on and love someone else. And make sure that they're treating you good. Have a marvelous week.